Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm well.
Good.
I'm well.
Good.
So I just wanted to ask you for your advice about how do you know when it's time to change your practice? Like, what are some of the signs? Like, when do you keep trying the same sorts of things, or when do you start to know that there's time to try something else?
You know, there's no answer to that. There's no one thing anybody could say, or some people would say things, but you have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a process. The whole thing is a process. It's not like you had one practice and if you deviate from that, you go to hell. You know, I mean, you find something that works for you, and you have to kind of pay some attention as to where you got the practice. Maybe it came from a group of people you no longer respect for some reason, or maybe you feel that it's gotten a little old and tired and you need something else. You can play with it. You try. You just mess around. But you don't want to. You don't want to be just giving into boredom. Because boredom is another state of mind, and it kind of moves in like a fog. And then you think if you change what you're looking at, the boredom will go away. It might temporarily, but then again, it might not be that the practice isn't working. It just means that you've reached a point where you can't actually do it anymore. So you could change just even based on that, and just see what happens. Or all practices are designed to help us pay attention. Period. Pretty much, one way or another. It comes down to being in the moment. So if the practice isn't working for you, you could think, well, why isn't it working for me? You could look at it and see what you think. Or just say, fuck it, I'll try something else and see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you think, well, obviously it's me. I can't do this, I can't do that. Oh yeah, now this is really working. But then wait a minute, am I just creating this? There's no answer. The only answer is for you to learn to listen to your own heart. That's the only answer. That's the only place there's ever any answers. A lot of times people will tell you what to do and you go, yeah, that's because you're agreeing with what you hear them say. It's not that they're right. It's just that you're hearing, oh, that sounds good. It could just as easily say, that doesn't sound good. But it's up to you, what you hear. So, and sometimes we like the responsibility to be on somebody else, Yeah, don't ask me to do that.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But yeah, just it's you can always come back to just watching your breath. It's very simple, it's uncomplicated, it doesn't change. The breath is going in and out as long as you're in a body. And you don't have to manufacture anything, you don't have to visualize anything, you don't have to create anything, you don't have to sit any particular way, you don't have to eat any particular way, you don't have to dress any particular way, you don't have to worship any particular way, you don't have to love anybody particularly. You just sit and watch your miserable breath. And, that's enough to get you to enlightenment right there, if you're paying attention. So.
It's what comes up when you're doing that that's hard.
Yeah, well, that's why you come back to the breath. You have to let go. Yeah. And whatever practice you do, something's going to come up.
Yeah.
The question is, how long does it take you to come back to the practice, to paying attention? So every time you come back, you're planting a seed of coming backness, so to speak. So it's not, because you're not doing these practices to get happy. If you think you're doing a practice to get happy, even this great Buddhist Lama, very high Rinpoche, wrote a book called Not for Happiness. And he said, if you think you're becoming a Buddhist to be happy, get over it. Because it's not like that. You're doing these practices to free yourself from suffering, not to hold on to any kind of passing state of happiness or pleasure. Real happiness lives inside of us as who we are. It's looking out of our eyes all the time, but we don't see what's looking out of our eyes. We only see what we see, which is passing experiences. So that's why if you're doing a bunch of practices and they're complicated and they have a lot of things going on, just come back to your breath. And then it'll become very clear to you what's going on, that you just blah, 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 blah. And then, you have a choice to make. You can blah, 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 or you can come back to the breath. If you blah, 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 you blah, blah, blah. That's it. Any practice you can do is going to be more blah, 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 too. So that's the logic for not changing practices all the time. But once in a while, it doesn't matter. You come back, just come back, just let go. If you've gotten all glued up, and you can't see your way through it, just fuck it, come back to your breath. But don't give up any kind of practice. You can walk mindfully. Lifting, putting, placing. Lift, put, place. Lift, put. When we first got to Bodh Gaya in 1970, we heard about these Buddhist meditation courses being given at the Burmese Vihara, which is just up the road there. So we walked up there, and behind this building, there were these fields, and we saw this old guy, must have been an old guy, walking in the field really slowly. We thought, Jesus, this guy must be like 100 years old. He can hardly walk. It turned out it was Joseph Goldstein practicing mindful walking meditation, And he's now one of the leading, Buddhist meditation teachers in the world. He'd been there for years, and he was like, he was doing Buddhism. We thought, Jesus, this guy must be old, So there's all kinds of, if you're doing mindfulness practice, there's mindfulness of everything. You can, of the breath. You can walk around the house, lift. You're just aware of lifting, putting, placing. That's it. And then you'll be thinking about what's out the window. No, lift, put, place. So there's all kinds of little ways of suckering yourself back into paying attention.
It's the what's coming up that I'm struggling with with the sitting practice. So I think
don't sit so much.
Don't sit so much. Walk. Yeah.
Do walking meditation. Do you do mantra? What do you do? Mindfulness? You don't have to tell me if you
That's
want
okay.
to.
No, mostly just breath practice because it seems the simplest.
It is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah, when times are challenging, it gets really hard, and so then I feel an avoidance too. And so then I was wondering, do you face that avoidance, or do you try to, I guess,
Well,
try something else and see whether that becomes less?
It's you have to decide. You have to kind of look at it. Is this avoidance just antsiness, and I just don't want to practice for a while? So fuck it. Drink beer. Have a beer.
A beer.
For a couple of weeks, and then go back to it and see what happens. There's nobody watching. There's nobody judging. No. There's nobody marking down, she took 2 weeks off of practice. Slap her down. Yeah. No, it's just your life. Play with it. And it's what's really happening is that the effort you're making into paying attention is allowing things to come up. And you're reacting to those things. So, it's not necessarily in your best interest to kind of like fight with it and just sit there and watch your breath. That's not useful.
Okay.
But to watch the whole process. Okay, I'm not going to sit for a week now. No matter what, I'm not going to sit for a week. So watch how you feel about that. See what happens to those things that were pushing you around. Maybe they'll get bigger, maybe they'll go away, maybe they're just waiting for you to sit down again. So you learn. It's your life. You learn how you work. You learn just by doing, by living. And So, but you can certainly switch to if you're doing breath work, watching your breath, breathing naturally, not deeply, no special way. So that's a mindfulness practice. So you can try walking for a while. Sit for 10 minutes or whatever, then get up and do mindful walking around the room. And then sit again. And then, alternate, stuff like that. It's just so many things to do.
Yeah.
So many ways, Have a beer.
Have a beer. Thank you.
Okay. What's your name?
Mim.
Mim. Okay. Will I see you out there? You in Melbourne?
Well, I live in Brooklyn.
Oh, you live in Brooklyn now.
But I do go back to visit.
We'll be there in all of July. I'm not sure exactly when we'll be in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Cup is yours.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Om Namah Chandikaya. Om Namah Chandikaya. Om Namah Chandikaya. Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shivadratri Swaha Swadha Namostute Jayatvam Devi Chamande Jaya Bhutartiharini Jaya Sarvagate Devi Kalaratri Namostute Madhukai Taba Vidravi Vedatri Varade Namaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Mahishasura Nirnashi Bhaktanam Sukade Namaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Shambhasyaiva Shambhasya Dhumrakshasya Chamadini Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Natebhyaha Sarvadha Bhaktya Chandike Duritapahe Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Dehi Sobhagyam Arogyam Dehi Me Paramasukam Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Videhi Devi Kalyanam Videhi Paramam Shriyam Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Himachala Sudana Samstute Parameshwari Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Indrani Pati Sabhavam Pujite Parameshwari Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Devi Prachanda Dharadanda Daitya Darpa Vinashini Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Patni Manorama Dehi Manovratanu Sarani Taranim Durga Samsara Sagarasya Kalodva Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho 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 I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. Shohi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Drisho Dehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Drisho Dehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Dehi.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you for this opportunity. So about a month ago, my father passed away.
Ah.
And although we weren't terribly close, he was always in my life. He was always there. So now I've been having this immense feelings of guilt because I was feeling like I wasn't the best son. I'm being very impatient with him because he was alcoholic, and that's what eventually brought him to the hospital. And so it's like reflecting on that, I realized that I didn't really pay too much attention to how he must have really been feeling and to what caused him to drink so much. And I've been feeling a lot of guilt because of that. So my question is really like, how to work with guilt and sadness when I don't really feel like I have that opportunity again to really apologize and.
Well, really, you're his son, he's not yours, so he was free to live his life the way he chose to. You're not responsible for that. You didn't force him to drink, his life did. So part of that drinking kept you at a distance, and that's probably one of the reasons he did it, to separate himself from pain and anesthetize himself. Self-medication, really. So, but this Maharaj used to say that while your parents are alive, there's no greater worship than to serve your parents. But in America, I remember people saying, "But I hate my mother." What do you say? What do you say? Couldn't understand that, because. But we don't understand what it is to be alive. We don't know what it means to be alive. We don't understand relationships, other than. So, but as far as what you could do, you certainly can do like metta practice, loving kindness practice for him. That would heal you. That would help heal your heart, certainly, because you can help. Whether you can help him or not, who knows? But you can certainly help untie and soothe whatever knots are in your own heart. And that's a great practice to do for yourself and for everyone, And you know how to do that. You know about that practice?
Yes.
Yeah. And you can always, I think Sharon's teaching on Wednesdays still at Tibet House.
Oh, okay.
She might be, she might not, but if you read some of her books about loving kindness, it's a very powerful practice. First of all, no one can make another person happy. Happiness comes from within, and we can't. Other people's happiness are not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to do the best we can within some very convoluted, difficult relationships that arise in our lives. And parents, certainly qualify as that kind of relationship. But yeah, you can continue to love him. The love is always here, and you can certainly allow yourself to feel that, and that will also help you kind of become more aware of why you acted the way you did, and you'll see it. You're not. There was a complicity there between the two of you, possibly to keep at a distance. It wasn't all you, and it wasn't all him, but it was the karmas between you. So you can melt a lot of that right now, you know, in your own heart, which is where it has to melt, by wishing him well, wishing yourself well. That's part of it, you know. And may I be safe. May I be happy. May I have good health and live at ease of heart. And then you kind of establish that a little bit for yourself, and then you offer it to him. May you be safe. May you be happy. And you could say he'll hear it, but it's really you, your consciousness that's hearing it. So it's a very good practice to do. I think it's really the best practice for Westerners, period, chanting included. Because we chant, but we don't let it change anything. But the loving kindness practice really does carve out a deeper hole, a deeper space in our own hearts for us to sit in ourselves. Because it works directly with that issue of self-hatred and self-loathing and all that stuff, which people, they can chant, you know, forever and never allow themselves to really sit more deeply in their heart. So it's a wonderful practice.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely give that a try, because even as you're saying that and I'm thinking about it, I'm starting to feel like angry towards him.
Yeah.
So
And
immediately it comes up.
allow those things to come, because maybe he probably did things that made you angry in the process of hurting himself. You know, I don't think that he would have wanted to hurt you, but the idea is that most of these beings that hurt us didn't get a vote. They themselves are acting out of their own suffering, their own pain, and regardless of even their own best intentions towards us, they couldn't help but not be who we needed them to be. They just weren't capable. They weren't given the tools. Well, we have the tools. This is something they didn't have. So take advantage of that fact that you do have the tools to deal with these issues, so that you don't carry them on in your own life. And then you'll be making him happy too, because our parents are not separate from us necessarily. The physical body, they're separate, but really the DNA, we're actually made up of our parents. There's nowhere we can go where they're not inside of us. So these kind of practices liberate a lot of the negative karmas in the DNA and in our karmic situation. And they free us from having to be they free us from being the victim of our own stuff over and over again. So that's the best thing, you know. And yeah. And how long ago did he pass?
It was January 15th of last year, actually this month.
15. You know what's a good idea? Do a bandara in his name. Feed people somehow. Make a donation to one of the food places in his name. Or if there's homeless people, go spend a day giving food to people on the street in his name. This is something that's done traditionally when someone passes, and it helps them. It allows people to feel good about them, and those feelings, you know, create good karmic situation for them, with people thinking good about them. And talk to him too. Talk to him. Have discussion with him. You know, see what he says. You know, Dad, why are you such a fucking asshole? You know, who knows what he's going to say? But wish him well. That's the thing. You have to get to the point where you really can wish him well, and you'll find the amount that you can wish him well will be very much the amount that you can wish yourself well, and versa versa. So, yeah, it's good work. It's the real spiritual work. And yeah. Feed people in His name is a good thing. Keep Him with you. Put a little picture on your altar, and when you light the candle, or send Him some good wishes. And one of these days you'll mean it, and that would be a good thing for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Nice to see you. Take care. Take the cup.
I will.
Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Raghunandana Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sharanam Bhava Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Raghunandana Rama Rama Hare Rama 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 Sharanam Bhava Rama Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai